is primitive canned philosophy, if you want to. It gives you canned answers, and it says, here, you can rely on it, you don't need to think. It will tell you what to do in practically every situation, just obey us, take us on faith. Well, why do people accept it? Because nobody can live without a philosophy. Mm-hmm. Even the most primitive, unthinking man needs something to tie all of his actions, ideas, and his life together. He needs integration. Religion provides it to him ready-made. Philosophy, properly, does the same thing, but it offers an idea, a context to his mind, and it demands of him that he judge it, that he use his own intelligence to understand and then to accept the kind of basic premises that he'll live his life by.
In my youth, I was well schooled in religious doctrine, and I would not for a second say to you that I now believe in it as dogmatically as I did when I was a young person and had it taught to me by rote, all right? But I still wouldn't want to think that all of us pass through the experience of life and then when it comes to an end, that's simply the end of it and it has no other purpose. I'm kind of trapped there. I would like to think that there is something beyond the end of this thing we call life.
But tell me, supposing you were convinced that there isn't, what difference would it make to you now?
Oh, it would make a tremendous difference to me.
Yeah, I think so. But it would, for the better.
Well, you see, I think for the worse.
Why?
I wouldn't like to believe that when this body dies, that this spirit is now gone, that it's defeated.
It's not defeat. Think of it the other way. If you know that this life is all that you have, wouldn't you make the most of it?
Well,
rather than think, if I don't enjoy this life, I'll have limitless number of lives coming, yet I can be wasteful of my own life.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that I would want to waste a second of this. I do waste some seconds, and I'll bet Айн Рэнд wastes some seconds
Only
also.
They're not wasted. Yes, you mean of doing nothing whatever. Mm-hmm. Just drifting.
Well, or creatively wasting time.
Creative waste, that's right.
All right. But I still would like to think, not that I want to come back as a Maharaji or anything like that, but I tend to think of this whole thing as ongoing, that there is an eternity, and that we are going to be a part of that eternity, that we aren't just corpses in graves when we die.
But we aren't corpses in graves. We are not there. Don't you understand that when this life is finished, you're not there to say, oh, how terrible that I'm a corpse. No.
Well, this is true.
It's finished. And what I've always thought was a sentence from some Greek philosopher. I don't unfortunately remember who it was, that I read at 16, and it's affected me all my life. I will not die. It's the world that will end. And that's absolutely true. And you know, for me now, it should be a serious question, because my time is fairly limited, and I have the same feeling that I will enjoy life to the last moment, and when it's the end, I don't have to worry about it. I'm not there. It's too bad that the world will end, and I think a very wonderful world will end with me, but I've had my time. I can't complain.
Айн Рэнд does not fear death, does she?
No. Only the death of someone I love, but not my own.
How does Айн Рэnd, philosopher, view the United States of America today? People waiting in gasoline lines, people fearing a possible recession, people wondering whether we will survive as a nation because of military posturing by other countries around the world. Tell me how you feel.
That's a pretty big statement right there, but first of all, to sum it up, I feel that this country is being destroyed by its philosophy, specifically by its universities. The most dangerous thing in this country today are the universities, because they're teaching the kind of ideas that would necessarily have to lead to the destruction of this country. I think that the American people is too good for that kind of program. You notice that the people are turning to the right. That's a very healthy sign, but there is no leadership on the right. There is no intellectual leadership. There are no ideas. And it's very possible that the people will be defeated for lack of proper intellectual leadership. However, the basic premises...
Excuse me, but then you don't mean Harvard intellectual leadership or Yale intellectual leadership.
I mean a Harvard that would be preaching American ideas, more specifically reason, individualism, capitalism. If an institution of the intellectual prestige, which they don't deserve today, but they deserved it at one time, of Harvard, if an institution of that magnitude were preaching the proper ideas, that is the ideas on which America originally was based, or to say it briefly, the philosophy of Aristotle, which was the father of this country, who was. If they were doing that, you could have the biggest renaissance in the world, still not too late even now. You could have a better renaissance than the first one. This country would come back to life. But today, when all those institutions from Harvard on down are preaching collectivism, mysticism, and above all, altruism, self-sacrifice of yourself, the giving up, the resignation, all the disgusting kind of ideas that the whole world has been nurturing for centuries. When they do that, this country can't survive.
Can you be a little bit more specific? I've never been to Harvard. I've never been to class there, but can you give me an example?
That's your advantage.
Oh, thank you. Of how they are teaching sacrifice, how they are teaching altruism?
Well, open daily paper and look at Mr. Carter, a very peculiar creature, who is telling you that we're going to overcome the oil shortage by driving less, by giving up. Let us all make a sacrifice. Let's lower our standard of living, and we'll all be living better. Now, is that a proper philosophy to tell a country that has pride and self-esteem? At one time, with all the faults in American intellectual equipment, and there were a lot of faults, at least people were taught pride in their own country and in the good aspects, the great achievements of this country. Today, you're supposed to apologize to every naked savage anywhere on the globe because you are more prosperous, because you've earned your money. You have to feel guilty and apologize for it, while he hasn't and doesn't intend to learn from you. He just wants your money. That's what we're being taught. Why are we being taught? Because the ruling philosopher today in Harvard and everywhere else is Immanuel Kant. And that's the real villain of our age. It's not Karl Marx.
You mean he's the one, huh?
He is the one.
Kant is the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not Karl Marx, and it's not even religion. So I do not approve of religion, as you know. But those are not the villains. The villains is Immanuel Kant, who preached that man's mind is not valid, that the things you perceive are not there. They're not real. Things in themselves, as he preached, are something which exists in another dimension. Your world is only phenomenal, as he called it, and then there is this noumenal world which you cannot perceive in any way whatever, and that noumenal world is the true reality. Only you can't perceive it, so you better live here on earth and do your duty. And your duty is some kind of voice that comes from these other dimensions which you can't know. Well, how does he know? He doesn't tell you. But he tells you that morally you have to do your duty. What does your duty consist of? Of doing things in which you can take no possible interest and no advantage to yourself. You know that he is even worse than an altruist. An altruist would tell you, you shouldn't be happy, but you should sacrifice for other people, and then you're moral. Kant goes beyond it. He says, if you do things because you have any goal whatever, even the welfare of others, your action is not moral. Or as he puts it,